Hey guys, we're back in the WRX tonight. I figured this car deserved a night drive. The headlights are pretty impressive, and I've just really enjoyed driving this new 2022 WRX this week. Let's walk you around it real quick, show you what it looks like at night from the outside, and then we'll take this for a quick drive and kind of summarize some thoughts on what this has been like to live with this week. This is a WRX Premium, costs around $32,000, $33,000. It's painted in sapphire blue, which is a really sharp color on this car. Kind of hides the plastic cladded fenders just a little bit, and I think it might be a better option than black, at least for cleanliness. 18-inch wheels, 245 with Dunlop performance tires. Nice spacious interior. For night though, definitely gonna have to swap out these bulbs for modern LEDs. Taillights look a little cooler at night. Fog lights look good, and I do like the front end on this new WRX. All right, let's hop in. We'll take this for a drive. 2.4 liter turbocharged Boxer engine, makes 271 horsepower, 256 pound-feet of torque. Got this big 11-inch tablet screen. One thing I do really like about it is that CarPlay is vertically oriented. That's kind of nice. The rest of it though, it's a little bit laggy. It's a bit tedious to get into some deeper menus like your audio settings, and climate control is just kind of a pain to work with in the sense that it's just overly complicated. Yes, you can adjust your temperature, but there's no auto mode. Turning on and off your heated seats takes a couple presses. This menu does go away on its own, which is nice, but for the most part, I think I'd rather have some physical controls and buttons instead of this touch display. Most of the time it works okay. Occasionally it'll completely freeze on me and I'll have to restart the car, but that's pretty rare. But it did happen once on me this week. All right, we'll go into CarPlay. Gauges look pretty good. I'll show you guys what this looks like at night. Steering is super light. I do really like the new steering rack that they've put on this 22 WRX. It's a dual pinion electric steering rack. Very accurate, super responsive. Nice turning radius too. No rotating headlights in this premium model, but you can see they really do a nice job illuminating the road ahead of us. Brakes leave a little bit to be desired. Would be nice to get a set of Brembos or something in a future WRX model, and I'm sure all the old hardware swaps right onto this new WRX from STIs and previous versions. For night driving, I really like that you get a physical switch for your dimmer controls. That's great. Always a welcome feature. Even though we get this big tablet screen, dimmer controls are not hidden in it like we see in the Golf R, for example. I love this new FA24. This engine is great. It's super responsive. Subaru did a fantastic job tuning this new motor. As a manual driving experience, this is just a great combination. Easy to drive smoothly. Clutch engagement is nice. Pulls all the way to redline. We have reasonably short gearing too. Third gear tops out at about 80 miles an hour, second about 56. So you can actually enjoy this around town quite a bit and not do egregious speeds. Lots of mechanical grip too. We have a track mode for traction control, which is just a little bit more of a liberal setting. And then at a complete stop, you can completely disable traction and stability control for some sideways, low grip fun in the winter on dirt, whatever you fancy. Suspension's a little bit firmer than cars even like the BRZ, for example, but I haven't found it punishing. It's still been pretty comfortable all week. It's damped really well for rough roads, even though it is a little bit on the firmer side. I took this on some dirt roads earlier today, and I was impressed at how composed and how well it soaked up very rough surfaces. So even on these 18-inch wheels, it does a pretty nice job soaking up the bumps. I actually really like the suspension here. I think it's a really nice balance, a nice blend between performance and comfort. Subaru did a nice job tuning these shocks. A little bit of NVH, a little bit of intrusion and sound going over bumps from these 18-inch wheels and Dunlop tires, but that's nothing really too new in the WRX. A little bit more torque from this 2.4 liter too. Make some passes in 6th gear. The throttle is super responsive, so downshifts are really easy. Rev matching is just a treat in this new WRX. Little heel toe action there. Off throttle, this car rotates nicely too. A little bit of understeer on power, but for the most part, this chassis is pretty neutral, and the grip limits are so high that most people probably won't approach them regularly on the street. The nice thing about the WRX is you can actually find them, unlike the GR Corolla, which isn't in dealers yet, and will probably have markups like crazy. They're out there. Subaru dealers seem to be a little bit more friendly to selling their cars at MSRP, or at least minimal markups. I know the looks of this new WRX have been pretty controversial, but I think the driving dynamics here more than make up for that. This new car just drives so well. It's quick too. In the real world, this WRX hustles. It's fun. Give you guys a little bit more of a look at the headlights here. Oh, there's CarPlay just disconnected. It's a common issue I've noticed with Subaru. My BRZ has the same problem. It'll disconnect, and then if you wait a minute, it'll usually reconnect again. But hoping that's a bug that Subaru can work out here soon. It's a little bit irritating. Yep, there it's back now. Just takes a few seconds. Exhaust is quiet, but I think it sounds pretty good. It's a little bit drony at idle in the mornings on startup, but again, sounds like a Subaru. Growls away all the time. Cons, feels a little bit bargain basement, a little bit cheaper than some of the competition. A lot of plastics, a lot of cheaper materials in here, but everything I think is nice enough. And the driving experience is so enjoyable and so fun that it really does make up for any of those other shortcomings. The infotainment is my biggest complaint, really, but again, it's usable, it's livable, it's not as bad. It's not as bad of an offender as Volkswagen's infotainment, for example, where just everything is hidden behind a touchscreen and it's all kind of laggy and just not that well designed. At least we do get physical controls for temperature, for volume, for tuning. Subaru got that right, and I'll give them credit for that. So, otherwise, though, I found this to be a really, really fantastic car to drive this week. Fun, pretty much all the time. Wouldn't mind having slightly better fuel economy. I have been averaging around 21 miles to the gallon combined, driving pretty spiritedly all week. So I think if you were doing highway miles, you'd probably be in the high 20s. If you're doing a mix of city highway, you'd probably be like 24, 23, 25 miles to the gallon, thereabouts. Premium fuel is recommended, but not required. But you're probably going to want to throw it in there just for peace of mind. If you don't mind the looks, I've gotten used to them. I've actually seen some really good looking WRXs on Instagram. They've painted the fenders, they've painted parts of the rear and front bumpers. They look really sharp. It's probably an expense that not many people are going to want to foot the bill for, but in some respects, I could see the plastic cladding having a functional purpose and just keeping stones and rocks from damaging your paint. The side skirts kind of protrude a little bit, acting like a little bit of a mud flap. And I think if you were doing a lot of gravel road driving, this WRX wouldn't see too much damage from rocks and stones just because of that design inherently. So, yeah, really impressed with this thing. I had really good first impressions on this car when I drove it earlier this year at Road America and in Wisconsin, and spending a few more days with it has been a true pleasure. There's a bit of an old school charm to this new WRX. It retains that visceral feel of older cars. It just refines and perfects the tuning. And I think that's really the big win with this new car, is that the engine is finally has a proper tune out of the factory. And it's got plenty of torque. It's responsive. There's no rev hang. They've gotten rid of all the complaints that I had with the previous generation WRX and STIs. And it just drives so well. It's such a fluid, engaging, and fun manual driving experience. Of course, you'll miss out on that with a CVT, but the rest of this car is really good too. The suspension is really well tuned. I love the visibility you get out of this cockpit. The tech is good enough, but you still get analog physical gauges. You still get a handbrake, which is just a dying thing these days for some reason. Yeah, a lot of great things to say about this WRX, and a car that I've kind of fallen a bit for this week, a little bit more so than I anticipated. I just got out of the Elantra N, and of course I daily drive my BRZ, but this has really won me over. This shifter is awesome. A little bit tighter, a little bit shorter, I feel like, than previous generation WRXs. It's kind of light, not as sweet maybe as the BRZs, but it's not far off. It kind of feels a little bit like a short shifter too. It's kind of dark and hard to see stuff in this video, but if you haven't already, check out my full review on the WRX, where we review it in the daytime. You guys can see some more details in that video. Cool. We'll leave you there.